This is a second session about property photographers' mistakes. We're going to look into them and let's go with some questions. So here were some questions that somebody sent in, and so the first one was, do we keep doors open when taking photos? Very good question. Let's have a look at this. Let's see in this sample. If we would have this door open, we would just basically have it in the middle of the room, so of course it would make sense to keep it closed. The other option is if the door goes next to the wall, and basically we would add the hallway view. The question is whether it is something really interesting that is standing out and that may add some value to the property. If no, we just keep the doors closed. If of course it's like a double folding doors, then maybe it opens a path to another large open space. We can keep them open and then that way make our image to look much larger. Alright, but generally, especially when taking flash, we take the doors, we basically keep the doors closed, and this would be an exception. For example, if we can show the ensuite, because what it is, it adds value, especially if you are renting rooms. If you have ensuite in your room, then basically your price goes up by maybe £100 per month, which is 1,200 per year. So maybe the landlord or whoever has done the job, they just want to advertise that aspect. So therefore it is very important to show, especially if there is any bath and showers in there. If it's just some hallways, then not necessary. Okay, how do we get straight lines? Of course, very important. We see this sample, so on the right hand side we have straight line, but on the left hand side the vertical line is not straight. So what is the situation here? It is when we actually have our camera, we have basically tilted it down, or we have tilted it up, and then we can see that basically the sides of them are not even and they are either leaning in or leaning out. That is a sign of having your camera not being set up straight. Then the next thing is, once you have your camera straight, then all the vertical lines will align. In this case, the camera has been tilted down and then it has been rotated to equal towards the right hand side, but then the left hand side is still out of the alignment. If the camera is straight, all the lines are straight as well, and then we just need to decide whether we position right or left. This is a common mistake for photographers. Do we always take images from the corners? The answer is yes. Here's a sample. Of course, these images are before editing. This is just one image from a series of brackets. Okay, and in this case the photographer has stepped in and hasn't made the largest image, and we had another photographer doing the same job, and basically you can see here this image looks much wider. So what it is, both of them, they have the same equipment, the same camera, the same lens, which is 14mm lens on a full frame. And now you see here, not only the equipment will determine whether the images will look nice or no, but the photographer will. So therefore the angles is very important. And of course, if it comes down to an amateur or a professional even with a bigger zoom, maybe let's say 16 or 17 or maybe 18mm lens, can achieve better results because he just have a better understanding of what needs to be presented in the property and how to make it look at its best. But of course, when it comes down to a professional, comparing two professional images, then the professional with a better equipment will always have an advantage. So therefore, yes, it is very important to have good equipment, especially if we're talking about professional photography, and that makes a big difference when we're talking about professional level. So therefore, taking from the corner, not stepping in, trying to show as much as we can, it would be always what we have to have. The rest of the angles we always can take as well. I'm not saying don't take it, I'm saying this needs to be a priority. So if you compare whether you like Snickers or Mars, and if you'd say I like Snickers, you're not saying you would not eat Mars. So that would be just a priority. So in this case as well, this would be something that would be must have, and the other one, if it's there, is great. Yeah. Always choice. Here's another sample. So this is basically when you break a property into areas. So for example, the sitting area, then maybe the kitchen area and so on. But if you would not have this shot that shows the whole space, and especially now we see here we have two main walls, one and two main walls here, and we have added a little bit of the third wall. If you would not have this shot, then definitely this would be something where we potentially can have a revisit. So the close-up shots is good, breaking into areas is good. Always having to have the widest angle is important, is number one. Okay, so let's go to the mistakes now. Okay, so here we can see this is a shot done, but there was no image for replacement of the window, and we can see in the window we have a flash, and we also have the photographer itself. So basically just switching off the flash, we would get a shot that we can basically replace the view what is visible in the window. Yeah, so here would be an example. So here we have reflection in the mirror, and we can see here on right hand side. And now the second shot would be this, where we have actually switched off the flash, and we can then take this mirror and replace in the other shot, because the sharpness in flash images is always superior when comparing to images that are just done with exposure bracketing. Okay, and this is another shot. Here we can see we have the raindrops on the lens. When taking pictures in a rainy day, just have a look whether there is rain or whether there isn't, and just clean the lens. Of course, that can be tricky. I'm not saying it isn't, but you just have to be quick. So what do? I basically take my camera, I have my hand on the lens, I just basically lift it up, I focus it, I release, I make my pictures, and I pull back the hand. And even if it's tilted down, the rain doesn't get to the lens. Then I look at my camera and I see whether I need to do anything else or no. Yeah, so that would be an option how to avoid this. Here is another scenario, the same. We have rain on the left hand side, and that's in this case all right, because we could possibly get away with it because we can crop it, but in this case we would lose the area around the building, and in this case we have to center the buildings in the middle. So we are taking this building, but we could turn more towards the right hand side and tilt the camera a little bit up, because we would add a little bit more of the sky, so kind of having the building from here going all the way there. So sorry, I went too far with my mouse. Okay, so just trying to center the building that you are taking pictures of, and in this case it is possible, it's just positioning. Yeah, all right, and now this is another shot. Of course, don't look at the quality, it is just one series, one shot of the bracketed series. And in this case we can see the bathroom, bath, window, and the sink. Of course the doors is going to the right. So now, but there was another photographer who went to the property and he took another shot, which was this shot, and then we can see the difference. So of course, because of the shower, he kind of go in the right hand side corner, the previous photographer, but this photographer have taken the shot by closing the doors and taking from the place where is the sink. And of course we see this is much larger image. I'm not talking about the brightness, just about the size of the room. All right, so this would be the primary shot, and we always have to focus on the walls and on the size of the property that we can show. Of course the other shot, if you want, that's another shot. You can have the two shots, and the general rule that I always advise to everyone is when you cannot show something in one shot, just do two shots. Very good. Yeah, and here would be when we are blocking a sun, then we are actually putting our fingers in front of it, that it doesn't give the flare and doesn't mess up with our images. Now in this case the photographer have actually put the hand in front of it and then basically destroyed the shot. We now have to close up the whole building or basically crop it off up till here. Yeah, so you understand it is not the way how to do that, but here is a sample how to do it correctly. You basically just have your finger from the top and just cover the sun with 1, 2, 3 fingers, with the whole hand, it doesn't matter. Fairly simple job. You can clone some bit, healing tool, whatever you use, and basically just remove the hand is not a problem. And anyway, you change the skies if it's a rainy day, so that would be okay, as long as it is not obstructing the building or anything that has a lot of special detail. Now let's have a look at this. Okay, here it's great shot, very sharp, done with flash, but we see externally it looks a little bit too depressing, but not necessarily we have to show that much details, and especially here when it's not adding much to the scene. Just having softer looking windows will be better. And how can we achieve that? By increasing the shutter speed. not increasing, sorry, but decreasing, making it slower. So what it is, the flash will appear and disappear. It will stay the same amount of light in the room, but externally the mirror will stay longer open, and therefore the light comes in more, and the more light comes in, the brighter the window becomes. Simple as that. So playing with the shutter speed. Okay, and here would be another sample where a photographer has made actually the room to look like in a night, but it's actually a day. So this is great shot for interior, but for the window it is too dark and looks a little bit depressing. It's true. Now let's have a look at this. But the photographer has provided another shot for the window, and actually here the photographer has decreased the shutter speed, and therefore we have more light in the window. But now you know, if you would actually put on the flash now, you will have enough light for the room, because the flash would fill the room, and you would have a nice image for exterior. So therefore there is no need of editing. So that is something that needs to be kept in mind. All right, now let's have a look at this. I think everyone can guess already what is there. I mean, it's obvious, it's the toilet seat, and that's like a number one thing to keep an eye. I know people are busy with settings and the rest of it, but you have to look at what you're taking pictures of. And if you do that, the estate agent can say, look buddy, or look lady, you have to go back. So yeah, we don't want to do that, and people are picky sometimes. Now this is funny scenario. So this was one photographer who went there and he done and provided this shot, and of course we can see only the van, we don't see the exterior. So now what happened when he delivered this image, we told that he need to go back and do another shot again. So of course it's rainy day, the photographer was already a little bit kind of angry, but this is not about the photography, here is more about the attitude, and that is in general in life. So it's all about attitude. Whatever you do, if you have the right attitude, you always will be successful. Let's have a look at this. Now you can see that you can lift the tripod and you can do the shot, yeah. And of course we can say that it is super wet, the lens is super wet, but it's actually because the photographer have done this on purpose. And you know, I have done so many properties on rainy days, you even cannot see the rain droplets there, so 100% is not that rainy as it is displayed on the shot. And you know, that's what I said, that when you can lift up your tripod, so if you even lift up your tripod a little bit higher, then you even basically make the roof disappear of this van. But of course, because the photographer had to revisit, he was a little bit offended. But you don't have to take things personal. I mean, you know, you're never going to get everything 100% straight, so there is always a chance that you have to revisit. So therefore I'm talking about these mistakes to help you to avoid that. But even if it happens, you know, it's just a learning curve, you know, learning curve. Okay, and now basically you see this is another shot that basically the photographer took, and you can see you can avoid the car, and the car is still there, but it's just he didn't clean the lens, and you see it's not that raining anymore at the moment. It's just the lens is not clean, and I think it's just the attitude. And you know, I basically then told to the photographer, look, don't worry, I mean, he sent me these images after second visit, and I said, look, you know, what do you think if you will send these images to us? I mean, will we say it's okay? It's silly, you know. Again, we have to, you know, go and revisit. And eventually, look, it's just better to sometimes say, look, okay, if you cannot do it, don't worry, I will do it myself. And that is what it is if you don't have the right attitude. I mean, you know, it's not about proving that we cannot, but I think it is about proving that we can, that matters, yeah. And here let's have a look at another sample. So the car is in front of us, we lift up the tripod, we set it on a timer, lift it up, goes a timer, does a bracket of the different exposures. Keep the shutter speed fairly quick because the tripod will going to be moving a little bit. So, and that would be the shot that we can receive. And of course I see that this is possible, you know, and I know by doing this for quite a few years already. So therefore, you know, I mean, just have to try to do our best. That is the most important part. Now here, let's go to the bathrooms and the white balance. Yeah, here it is too yellow. If we change the white balance on the camera, In this case, I just changed it to the tungsten light. I done it myself this shot, and you will see the difference. Of course, we can do a lot of things in the Photoshop, but the best thing is to get the best images as we can out of a camera. So what settings I'm talking about? So white balance usually start is on auto by standard, but you can change them, and basically just changing to a tungsten light, it changes everything more towards the blue light, and if it's yellow, it basically balances it out. Of course, if it's a normal day and you leave it in tungsten light, it will start to look everything blue. So these are the things that we can always change, but you can play around with these settings. Majority properties you don't need to do, and that and auto white balance, we're going to do a great job. Okay, now let's have a look at what here we have the position of the camera. And remember, I told you before about the vertical lines. Now vertical lines is perfect here, but it's now about turning the camera, and in this case you can see a lot of the right hand side, which is not needed. But if we then turn a bit towards the right hand side, you see it opens up so much space. And so basically this was a revisit. So I mean, you know, if someone would send this shot, and of course I would say, look, why don't you turn more towards the left hand side, you know, and then basically just having the more space. Remember, it's all about the space. It's not so much about the composition and these things. It's all about the space, especially that the estate agents are looking for. If it's about home staging people and developers, it's all about like composition, the rest of it. Then you will spend more time. But for estate agents, it's not so important. It's more important to have the right angle from the right corner and to show as much as possible. All right, so now we can have a look at the exterior. Let me just have a drink from my favorite beauty queen cup. Sorry, just I had this what I have, so it's fine. Don't judge. And here, let's have a look at this. We have the external shot done from this side, and you see we have all the washings and the bins and the rest of it. But you know, console flash, let's have a look at this one. You see it will look much nicer. So if we do it from the other side, we will see it nice. I will leave the doors for someone else to open. That's fine. Don't worry about it. And here, you see, this building looks much nicer than having all the washings and everything. So having multiple shots and not necessary, the entrance door should be the image that you are actually using. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is walk around, have multiple shots. Okay. Now here another shot, and we can see that, you know, the photographer has tried to actually get all the images in, so basically all the property in the image, but in this case it's just showing this plain wall. And even if you would have a door here, we would not just gonna take a picture of this because you just want to show the whole house. So it is good to have it as additional shot if it's needed, but this is one shot that you can do and it's very good. And this is another shot that you can do, and it is also very good. And this is another shot that you can do. And of course, you see here, I can see the roof of the car, so that means I have lifted up the tripod. So it's very nice shots that we have done here, and these are the variations. And I always encourage to have at least 3 external shots, just in case if a client wants from a different angle or something else, or wants to see the whole building, maybe this is better. Or just want to see the front shot. Front shots always are the most important, and just straight on shots. But you may have difficulties like having trees and the other. So for example, if we go to the next shot, we see here we have a tree on the right hand side. Of course, therefore the shot is not taken straight on, but it's at the angle. But in this case, we can see there is this kid there. So you're just politely asking, you know, like, would you mind just stepping out from the frame for a second? I'm just doing my job. Look, if they are, you know, difficult, just, you know, they don't want to do it, this, you know, what can you do? But it's just a communication. Communication is the key, you know, attitude and communication. If you go to approach somebody and say, oh, move, then more likely they're not going to do that. They're going to start arguing like with you. But if you just say, look, you know, I'm doing this, I'm a photographer, I just want to have a great shot, you know, would you mind just stepping aside for a second? You know, I can show you the shot after. More likely 90% they're going to say it's all right. Look, if they have difficult day, they have difficult day, you cannot do anything about it. Yeah, so okay, now let's have a look at this. Now here, this is a garden shot, and it's basically towards the back of the house, but we see here is a tree. So yes, we can show the tree, we can show this way the garden, but basically we don't see the house itself. So again, think out of the box. You cannot show something, do another shot. Just having another shot is like a seconds and pressing just the button on the camera, and that's the easiest part. The most difficult part is actually getting to the property, having the access and the rest of it. Yeah, so therefore do that. Okay, now here we have a front shot, and in front shot basically you don't see the full house, and we have all the rubbishes and everything, but in this case I'm not talking about the rubbishes, even though I moved the rubbishes basically behind this wall. So I just put the bags behind the wall, so 1 2 3 bags, and done a shot. But it's not enough if we just have this shot. We always have to have shot where we show the whole building. I mean, we have had some situations with photographers where they actually just do the shots of the front doors, and I mean, it's no go. I mean, you have to have a shot of the building. If it is bad shot of a building, you have a bad shot of a building, because eventually it is what it is. But if a client asks, you can say, look, this is what it is, this is what I have selected as my best because I thought this would make more sense. Yeah, but if you don't have that shot, then it just gets in arguments, admin work and everything. It's just not necessary. It's the same. It's easier just to go step back, do the shot. Even let's say, for example, there's scaffolding, you could turn towards the right and maybe shoot it from here and kind of showing at the angle as I was showing in this shot. Yeah, so for example, if you would have scaffolding on right hand side. Yeah, so always have those at least 3 shots from externals. Now, other things to keep in mind. So here would be how we can do nice externals. Front shot, number 1, always remember. From a side, I can show the driveway, the path around the building and everything, also a good shot. Now, as mentioned, close-up shot, if that would be the only shot, it would be no-go, but if it is there as an addition, it's very good. Yeah, and also we could do it from the other side. Now this, we class it as a back of the house. Why it's a back of the house? Because it shows the back of the house. And now here it's a garden shot. Basically you show the garden from the back of the house, you show the garden. So that would be the differences. So whether you want to show the back of the building or you actually want to see the garden. So these are the shots. If you cannot show something, like in the case where was the tree in the middle, yeah, then you can do a shot from here, and then you can maybe do another shot from there as well, kind of passing by the tree. Yeah, of course it makes sense, but look, sometimes people get frustrated, people get like busy, confused. Maybe it's parking, with timing, with landlords, with like whatever it is. I mean, just I think it's very important just to keep it cool, and remember, look, you just have to do your thing. Yeah. Okay, and here would be a flash. If we have a flash and we have flash in the window, reflections there, if we don't have an image to replace it. Yeah, so the general rule is, look, even if I do images with flash, I do images flash, and I do a bracketed series, and I always have all the images, so I don't have to worry about it. So images with flash and exposure bracketing, which I can set on my camera. So manual focus on, why? Not manual focus on the lens, but manual focus points on my camera, because I always look through my eye of the camera, through the viewfinder. And why? Because then I can see where I'm focusing. Because if you keep the camera and you have it on autofocus, and then there is maybe a table or chair, something closer to you and something in a distance, it may focus on whatever is closer, and everything else will be out of focus. So therefore you're not going to guarantee the quality. If I have set up my focus point, so I'm not going to do manually zoom on the lens, I will basically just choose, I want to focus on that window, I want to focus on that door, I want to focus on that place. And where I always try to focus is at the middle of the room. So if I'm doing from a corner to a corner, it will be more likely around the opposite corner that is in front of me. So that would be the middle, because everything that is on the sides is all going to be closer to me, maybe like a table or whatever. Yeah, or maybe you even can have a bed that is kind of close to your lens, and if you just focus on the bed that is in front of you, then also you can get images out of focus. So keeping that in mind, just use the viewfinder and just use the manual focus points. Okay, now having clear instructions are very important, because sometimes what clients want and what you have understand is completely different, and therefore it is very important to be specific. Yeah, and if you don't understand, it is your responsibility to clarify it. I mean, like, you are doing something but you don't know what you are doing, I mean, who then will be able to help you? But if you then say, look, I'm not sure what needs to be done, or I don't know how to do it, you ask, you get the answers. So that's very important. I mean, you have to just step up a little bit, and maybe go to the client or whoever provides the job. Maybe that's like a photography company like us, and then just say, look, I'm not sure what I need to do. Then we can let you know what needs to be done, and that's it. Simple as that. Otherwise, there can be some areas missing, frustration, and the rest of it. Okay. Remember, where you collect the keys, that you return the keys. So for example, you collect the key from one estate agency. So basically you do a job from one estate agency, but the keys are held in another estate agency, and then you go to a property but then return the keys where you collected, because eventually, if you have signed for the keys and even the original estate agent has asked you, can you return the keys to me, there may be some competition, and they may try to delay each other, and eventually we're going to come back to you. But we always politely advise everyone, look, where I have collected the keys, it's my responsibility to return in the same place. If however you want to collect them from that place, it's fine, but if I sign for something, I have to sign off for them as well. And I have had in my case a situation that I go to a property, I have collected the keys from an agency that I do the job, I go to the property, and there actually landlord comes in, and I was like, okay. So he said, can you return the key to me? And I said, I need to speak to the agent, because I collected the keys from them, because you don't know who is that person, is it landlord or no. So just made a phone call, and the agent said, yes, that's fine. So released the keys to the landlord and just went off. So for me it was easy, I didn't need to go back to return the keys. So this is something to keep in mind. Yeah. And especially, look, even if the estate agency is closed and maybe it's out of working hours, you have finished your job at like at 5:30 whilst you get back to the office, and they have closed at 5. Look, you just have the keys, you can put them in the letterbox, but then just make a picture or make like a small video. I have put the images in the letterbox, and just basically send this in an email to the client or to whoever instructed you, because then you have a proof that you have returned them, and simple as that. It shouldn't be a long video, just like, hi, just dropping in the keys, just put them in letterbox, thank you, but that's it, and just send an email the video. Yeah. So that is a good tip as well. Never give statements about anybody's personal belongings. We have had a situation where a photographer goes in a property and says, look, oh, this looks messy, would you mind if we tidy up a little bit? And like, look, who you are to come in my property to tell me that I'm messy, la 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 la. Some people are messy, like you'll be surprised. But look, if they're messy, you cannot be messy. It's all about being politically correct. Like, what I'm saying is nonsense. Yeah. But look, people get offended about anything. Like, this is just ridiculous. But if you don't want to go to all this struggle, like, you just say, look, if it's something not as it should be, you say, well, would you mind if you just open up a space a little bit? And it's simple terms. And just they say, oh, what can I do? And then you just say, look, this, and that's it. Yeah. So that would be another thing. Of course, now if we are going through a season where we have the coronavirus, then touching unnecessary belongings, you would reconsider yourself. Of course, just the basic things, maybe switch on the lights, like the blinds and these things. Of course, yeah. But of course, this is something that then you have to be considering the situation you are in. Yeah, and especially if the person is very kind of nervous, and if they are very kind of picky, it's just better not give any statements, otherwise you may get them offended. Okay, yeah, that's it about property photography mistakes. So this was I think another second series, so if you want to watch the first one, you can do that as well. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.